Alright, so in this video, we're going to talk about the basics on how to use the Linux terminal. Okay, there are about 7-8 commands you should know before you're able to effectively use the terminal. I'm going to be using this file manager over here to help visualize what these commands are doing. So for the first command, we're going to go over pwd, which stands for print working directory. What this does is it prints the name of the directory that you're currently in the terminal, right? So right now I haven't done nothing in the terminal, so we're still in my home directory, right? Home and then my username, which is the same right over here. You can see all my files in my home directory. Now, if you want to see all the files in the working directory from the terminal, you're going to type ls, stands for list, listing the files, right? So here we can see everything in green, this greenish blue color. In your terminal, it should be green or blue. It's going to be all the folders, and then white is going to be the files. Okay. Now, by itself, this is not all that helpful. It just kind of shows you what is in here. You know which files you can go into, which folders. But to see more information on the files, you can do ls-l, L for long, right? This is called a flag. So after commands, you can put a flag, and it'll execute differently. So this is ls executed with the long flag, and it shows more information on all the files and directories, right? So here we have on the left all the permissions of the file, the owner of the file, the group owner, the size of each file, and this is the date that it was last modified. All these flags for all these commands are going to be, you can find them in the manual. To find the manual for each command, you're going to do man for manual and then the name of the command. So man ls is going to pull up the manual. You can scroll up and down with the Vim keys, J or K, or if you don't know those, you can just use the arrow keys, right? So up here, it'll give a little description and then all of the flags that you can use. Up here, another important one, -A, you can just press Q to leave. You ls-A, and then it'll list A for all the files, all the hidden files, right? If you go into the file manager, you click here, go to show hidden files, it'll show all these same files with a dot at the beginning. A hidden file is just a file that starts with a dot. They're not like encrypted or private or anything. It's just Unix standard to have hidden files start with a 1. So folders or files that you don't necessarily want cluttering up your home directory or any other directory start with a dot and are typically hidden unless requested otherwise, right? So like the configuration file, still very important, doesn't need to be encrypted, but you don't necessarily want to be seeing it all the time in your home directory when you open a file manager or when you ls, okay? Now, if your screen gets all cluttered like this, you do lsa or lsl, you can always just type clear. Typing clear will clear the whole screen and back to nothing, right? So nice and organized. So to move into one of these directories, you're going to use the cd command for change directory. So you cd and then the name of the directory you want to go in, right? So I'll say I want to cd into pictures, and then we can ls from in here, and this will show all the files that are in my pictures. Okay, if I go into my file manager, same thing, example 2, new file, screenshots, wallpapers, etc. Now from here you can always cd again into, let's go example maybe, ls, there's a file in here. Let's say I want to get back to my home directory, right? There are a few ways to do this, right? Where right now we're in home, KiKO, pictures, example, print working directory prints the whole directory. Let's say we want to get back to KiKO. There are a few ways to do it. You can cd home, KiKO, pictures, example, right? That will work. This will put me back. Oh, we went back into the same one. cd home KiKO, and this will bring you right back home, right? Or you could cd tilde to get back home, okay? Or, and up and down will go through your history. So let's say let's go back, see here, we're back here. You could also just cd with nothing, and that will always bring you home. So cd and cd tilde are the same thing. They'll take you home. Okay. If we wanted to get to pictures from here, you could do cd dot dot. Dot dot is the directory above, right above the directory you're currently in, right? So if we cd dot dot and we print the working directory again, we're one above where we were before. Before we were in home KiKO pictures example, now we're in home KiKO pictures. Okay. Now, let's say we want to make a new directory here. Let's say we want to make a new folder. We're going to mkdir for make directory, new directory, let's say. This can be anything, is the name of the folder. Right? So if we ls, we got new directory. And if we go over here to the file manager, you can see it right here. Okay. Now we can cd into that new directory. And let's say we want to make some files. Typically, any file editor like Vim, Nano, whatever, will make the file if you Vim into new file and edit it. Or if you want to make a new empty file, you can do touch and then file name, or whatever you want the file name to be, obviously. Touch originally was used to touch files to update their modified date, but if that file doesn't exist, it'll just make a new one. So people use this typically to make new files, and it's also very safe because if you accidentally make a new file with the same name of another file, it doesn't just empty out that file, it'll just update the modified date. So it is much safer than overriding or something. Next, we're going to talk about the CP for copy. So if we want to copy this file name to new file, or in new file 2, we've just copied this file twice. Now obviously these files are empty because I just created them, but if there was some information, if it was a script or some document, it would copy everything over. Now if we want to remove some files, here let's make another one and clear the screen. Let's say we want to remove new file. You do rm new file, enter. It won't say anything, but it will remove the file. Be careful with this command because this will not send it to the recycle bin or those like half deleted folders. It will just flag the bits as unused. So recovering it will be very difficult. It's not as easy as going to the recycle bin. Now let's say I wanted to remove all these files. If I want to remove these two files but not this one, right? What I could do is rm new and then the asterisk for wildcard. What a wildcard does is it represents any sequence of any characters, right? So this will target everything that starts with new. So new and then anything after it. So this one has new and then anything after it, new and then anything after it. So I remove new asterisk and it'll remove these two files. Okay. We got one last thing which is very helpful is the alias command. Right? What the alias command does is it allows you to map a command to a different command and flags of any sequence. So let's say I didn't want to have to type out ls. Here, let's cd back home. If I want to type the lsla every time I wanted to see every file in long form, right? I don't want to type that out every time. What I could do is I could alias L to ls-la, right? So now if I just type L, it'll run ls-la. Now, typing the alias command every time you go into a terminal to get your aliases is pretty tedious. So typically what people do is they'll write them into their bash RC. I'm not using bash right now. I typically don't use bash, so this is an old document. But basically with the bash RC, you're probably using bash. The bash RC, the bash resource, is run every time you open a new terminal running bash, right? So if you write your aliases here we could write that what was it, ls-la. Every time you go into a terminal, you save this. Every time you go into a terminal and type L, it will run this. So I think that's it. Those are the basics on how to use the terminal. It does get a while to get used to. It is kind of, it is a little bit more difficult to do simple things in the terminal, but once you get used to, once you're able to type fast, you memorize all the commands, it is significantly faster than using the file manager or anything, because on top of all the things that the file manager can do, you can move around a lot easier. It's much more freedom. You can run programs from here. A lot of people just use straight the terminal. So I would recommend using it if you're using the computer a lot, especially if you're working much closer to the computer than the typical person. But anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or email me, and I'll be happy to help you out. So that's it. Thanks for watching.